Welcome to the Public Information Center for the Hanover Walkerton Landfill site regarding the long-term management of leachate. Please ensure you have your sound on in order to be able to listen to the presentation. This is a Schedule B class environmental assessment to determine the alternative solution to best manage the leachate long-term that is produced at the Hanover Walkerton landfill. The Municipal Class EA is a joint venture between the Town of Hanover and the Municipality of Brockton. The purpose of this Public Information Center is to provide residents, stakeholders, and rights holders with information related to the long-term operation and design consideration for the management of leachate at the Hanover Walkerton landfill site, outline the municipal class environmental assessment process, known as the Class EA process, present the study area, purpose, and objectives of the Class EA, present the problem opportunity statement for the project, receive feedback on the evaluation alternatives, outline the project's next steps, and propose schedule moving forward. The Town of Hanover and the Municipality of Brockton own and operate a landfill site on lots 68 to 73, Concession 1 and 2, North Durham Road, and part of lots 23, 24 of Plan 171 in the former township of Brant, now the Municipality of Brockton, in accordance with the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks, known as the MECP. The existing Hanover Walkerton landfill site is a waste disposal site with a waste footprint of 11.5 hectares within 106.4 hectares of total site area and services the Town of Hanover as well as the former Town of Walkerton. The property is bordered to the north and west by farmland within the Municipality of Brockton, to the south by County Road 4, and the Saugeen River and the Town of Hanover to the east. In 2012, the landfill expanded to provide a total capacity of 411,000 cubic meters and has sufficient capacity to service the solid waste disposal needs of the two communities for the next 20 to 25 years. During the expansion, a leachate collection system was installed with leachate being stored in an underground tank, which is pumped and trucked by a licensed liquid waste hauler to both the Hanover and Walkerton wastewater treatment plants for treatment and disposal. With projected growth of Hanover and Brockton and the expansion of the landfill to accommodate additional active filling areas, a solution to the long-term management of leachate is required. Leachate volumes can vary due to precipitation, active area of disposal, cover soil characteristics, and landfill development, and they have become highly unpredictable due to the dry or wet climatic conditions. Based on the original leachate management report that was prepared during the design of the expansion area, the total fully developed projected leachate volume for the landfill was estimated to be 8,400 cubic meters per year or 23 cubic meters per day. It is anticipated that leachate volumes will fluctuate significantly during the active development of cells 1 through 4. This is because during the early stages of cell development, the drainage layer of the leachate collection for each cell will have exposed surfaces with no waste and will be in direct connection to precipitation events. Although the expansion area is projected to be developed in 4 cells, the design of the leachate collection system must accommodate the entire expansion area once final closure has occurred and at various stages of its active development. Since the construction of cell 1 and 2 and the reshaping of the slope at cell 1, there has been an increase in leachate being collected from the site. For example, in October 2020 to September 2021, there was an average of 21.5 cubic meters per day of leachate hauled to either Walkerton or the Hanover wastewater treatment plants. This was partially due to cell 2 being connected to the system, as well as the slope on cell 1 being regraded to final grades. This average does not consider varying rainfall events, which is precipitation, spring melt, etc., which causes the volumes of leachate to fluctuate considerably. The construction of cell 3 will be commencing in late spring of 2025, which anticipates an increase in leachate volumes. As previously mentioned, in 2012, the landfill underwent an expansion to construct cell 2, where an impermeable liner was placed with the leachate collection piping system and backfilled. The leachate collection system drains into a tank on the far south side of cell 2 adjacent to the access road turnaround. This expansion allowed for additional waste disposal area. In May 2025, a third cell, Cell 3, will be constructed, which will increase the production of leachate and volumes due to the square area that will be added to the current collection system. The existing leachate collection system consists of an underground piping system that collects the leachate and drains it into an underground storage tank. The storage tank can accommodate 50,000 liters, or 50 cubic meters, of leachate before it needs to be emptied. Schuss Sanitation is currently contracted to pump, haul, and dispose of leachate from the underground tank on an as-required, as-needed basis. The leachate is hauled and disposed of at either the Hanover or Walkerton wastewater treatment plants. Since leachate properties can vary drastically, a slow release of the leachate into the wastewater is required, hence the reason that it is sent to either the Walkerton or Hanover wastewater treatment plants. This method aids in the dilution of leachate, making it a little easier to treat the combined with the wastewater. What is leachate, and what makes it so hard to treat? Leachate is considered any liquid produced when water percolates through an impermeable waste material. It can contain elevated levels of general chemistry parameters such as pH, acidity, alkalinity, anions, metals, and other volatile organic compounds. Leachate composition can vary greatly due to many factors, such as what type of waste is contributing to it, precipitation and environmental factors, runoff characteristics of soil cover, etc. These factors also impact the volume of leachate generated along with landfill development and the active area of disposal. All of these factors affect the overall treatment since they impact the composition and volume, making it difficult to treat the leachate in its raw form. Due to the nature of leachate and anticipated increasing volumes with the construction of Cell 3, and as growth and expansion continues in both communities, the Town of Hanover and the Municipality of Brockton decided that a long-term solution for the management of leachate at the Hanover-Walkerton landfill site be explored through the Municipal Class Environmental Assessment process. A Municipal Class EA helps municipalities plan infrastructure projects by evaluating their potential environmental impacts, ensuring compliance with the Environmental Assessment Act, and fostering environmentally responsible development. It is a process that considers various factors to minimize negative effects on natural, cultural, social, and economic environments. The MCEA classifies projects in terms of schedules based on varying environmental impact. The classifications are as follows. Exempt. Exempt projects may have a minimal adverse environmental impact and consider public notification. Eligible for screening to exempt. Eligible for screening to exempt projects may have minimal adverse environmental impact and requires completing an archaeological screening process to determine if they're exempt or if they're a Schedule B. Additional public notification should be considered even if the project is exempt. Schedule B. A Schedule B project has potential for some adverse environmental effects. It requires mandatory contact with public and review agencies. Schedule C. Potential for significant environmental effects. It requires mandatory contact with public and review agencies. Requires completion of an environmental study report, which is known as an ESR. The first phase of a municipal Class EA process is to determine or identify the problem or opportunity. The problem or opportunity for the Hanover-Walkerton landfill is the need for a long-term solution to manage the leachate that is produced at the landfill. The current method of hauling relies on an individual to determine the frequency of trips and number of times the tank is required to be emptied. This is not a long-term solution to a long-term problem and operation. The landfill will continue to expand and generate more leachate along with the current and future expansion. A notice of commencement went out to all stakeholders, adjacent landowners, and rights holders, providing information regarding the initiation of the Municipal Class EA. A notice was also placed in local newspapers. The notice provided opportunity for public, stakeholders, landowners, and rights holders to provide initial comments regarding the EA. Through consultation with the Town of Hanover, the Municipality of Brockton, 4 alternative solutions were derived to meet the needs of the problem or opportunity. From the 4 alternatives, the project schedule was selected based on Appendix 1 of the MCEA guidelines. There are 5 phases of the MCEA planning process. Phase 1 is to identify the problem or opportunity. Phase 2 is to identify alternative solutions to address the problem or opportunity by taking into consideration the existing environment and establish the preferred solution, taking into account public, Indigenous community, and review agency input. Currently, we are at Phase 2 within this Municipal Class EA process for the Hanover Walkerton landfill site. Through this Public Information Center, the preferred solution will be selected based on comments, concerns, feedback, and consultation with the public, stakeholders, and Indigenous communities. Alternative methods will be examined if input is received and will be part of the Phase 3 within the MCEA process. Through discussion with the Town of Hanover and the Municipality of Brockton, the following 4 alternative solutions were derived. Alternative 1. Continue to haul leachate to both the Hanover Wastewater Treatment Plant and Walkerton Wastewater Treatment Plant. This is the current method. Alternative 2. On-site treatment and surface discharge. Alternative 3. Propose pumping station and force main to the Hanover Wastewater Treatment Plant. Alternative 4. Purchase a truck, operate, and haul the leachate internally, using qualified town and municipal staff. Alternative 1 and 4 would be exempt from a municipal Class EA. According to Appendix 1 of the MCEA guidelines, both alternatives 2 and 3 would fall under a Schedule B project. Alternative 1, hauling leachate to both the Hanover Wastewater Treatment Plant and Walkerton Wastewater Treatment Plant, is the current method. In this alternative, the current method of hauling and treating the leachate will continue and is deemed functional for the short term. Given that the leachate volumes have been difficult to predict, the hauling and treatment costs can vary from year to year and when new cells are being constructed. Replacing this method with permanent infrastructure will be more cost-effective in the long run, as continuing to haul leachate has been identified as having a higher life cycle cost. Other challenges that have been identified in the evaluation process were high greenhouse gas emissions, risk of spills, ongoing health and safety concerns, wear and tear on transportation system, noise and disturbance to the adjacent property owners along the trucking route, and potential for spills should an accident occur. There are also limited operators in the area, which provides uncertainty for the future of this method. Alternative 2, on-site treatment and surface discharge. On-site treatment and surface discharge would be completed by constructing a full-scale leachate treatment facility at the landfill. It would be located in the vicinity of the leachate collection tank. Treatment of the leachate would occur entirely through provision of a mechanically based on-site treatment plant. The final effluent discharge would be directed into the Saugeen River. This alternative has the highest estimated life cycle cost due to the initial capital required to construct the treatment facility. Currently, it can be assumed that the leachate being collected is mostly comprised of rainwater or snowmelt and is highly diluted, but it will no doubt strengthen over time due to the cells being closed and capped. If this alternative is preferred, the on-site treatment system would need to be constructed right away to treat the leachate prior to discharge. The cost for approvals for this alternative could be quite onerous, and agency and public perception of surface water disposal may also not be favorable, even for a treated leachate. Alternative 3, proposed pumping station and force main to the Hanover Wastewater Treatment Plant. The concept of pumping the leachate to Hanover Wastewater Treatment Plant was developed as a solution to dispose of the leachate and eliminate the need for hauling. Presently, there is a leachate collection tank located at the landfill. Leachate collected within the line portions of the landfill cells flows by gravity to the collection tank, where it is currently collected and pumped into a truck from the manhole for hauling and disposal to either Hanover or the Walkerton Wastewater Treatment Plant. It is thought that the existing manhole could be converted to a pumping station for pumping of the leachate through a dedicated force main to the existing Hanover wastewater treatment plant. The length of the force main required would be approximately 900 meters to connect the Hanover landfill to the Hanover wastewater treatment plant. The intent would be to directional drill the force main directly east of the landfill site, underneath the Saugeen River, where it would connect into the existing Hanover wastewater treatment plant. This alternative has the lowest life cycle cost of all the alternatives considered and does not present any significant operational, technical, or regulatory challenges. It is recognized that there will be potential impacts when leachate is added to a municipal wastewater treatment plant, but it is thought that any challenges encountered could be addressed during final design. Some temporary impacts during construction were identified, which could be mitigated with standard practices. Alternative 4. Purchase a truck, operate, and haul the leachate internally using qualified town or municipal staff. This alternative would see the town of Hanover and the municipality of Brockton purchase a suitable truck to haul the leachate to either of their respective wastewater treatment plants. This would also include the town and municipality hiring full-time staff to operate and manage the trucking of the leachate. This option has some challenges, as Alternative 1 does, and a slightly higher life cycle cost, but may be more reliable and sustainable in the long run. The MCEA process outlines the following key considerations when developing, assessing, and evaluating alternatives. Land use planning. Is the alternative a good use of land, and will it achieve the desirable social and environmental outcomes while optimizing resource use? Does it follow planning objectives and policies identified at the provincial and local levels? Natural heritage features. What impacts will the alternative have on landforms, groundwater, surface water and fisheries, terrestrial vegetation and wetlands, wildlife and habitat, and connections provided by or between these resources? Natural heritage features should be identified early in the EA process to determine significant features and potential impacts. Specific policies at the federal, provincial, regional, or local level should be reviewed and identified as part of the EA process. Social environment. Does the alternative encompass the external conditions, social connections, and interactions within a community that influence individual and collective well-being? The social environment includes existing communities, residential areas, and recreational areas. Significant negative impacts to the social environment should be avoided where possible. Where they cannot be avoided, then effects should be minimized where possible, and every effort made to mitigate adverse impacts. Key considerations are the overall community impacts to residential property and access, community facilities and access, recreational facilities and access, pedestrians, cyclists, noise impacts, and air quality. Cultural environment. Will the alternative have an impact on the archaeological resources, built heritage resources, and cultural heritage resources in the environment? Areas of archaeological potential must be identified in accordance with the Ontario Heritage Act. This is typically accomplished by involving the Ministry of Citizenship and Multiculturalism's criteria or engaging a licensed archaeologist. Indigenous communities. Proponents under the MCEA process are required to consult with interested public and Indigenous communities. The MECP must be contacted for guidance on how to appropriately consult with Indigenous communities. We will go into more detail regarding consultation with Indigenous communities in the next slide. Economic environment. The economic environment includes commercial and industrial land uses and activities. It also includes the financial costs associated with the alternatives, including construction, operation, maintenance, and property costs. Property. Significant impacts on property should be avoided where possible, and every effort should be made to mitigate adverse effects. The primary goal should be avoidance. Significant impacts to property should be avoided whenever possible during planning and design. If impacts cannot be avoided, when the effects should be minimized as much as possible and every effort made to mitigate remaining adverse effects. Direct impacts may be loss of access, reduction of elimination of parking, encroachment, or demolition of buildings. Indirect impacts could be changes to property boundaries that lead to noncompliance with local standards such as building setback requirements, zoning rules, and minimum lot sizes or frontage rules. Evaluation of alternative solutions. Many of the potential alternative solutions may resolve in more than one problem. The feasibility of the alternative solutions will depend in part on the nature and location of the infrastructure, the nature and location of the opportunity and/or problems being addressed, the comparative cost of the alternative solutions, and on the municipality's capacity to finance the extension of services. This Public Information Center is part of the required consultation process. Consultation early and throughout the process is a key feature of EA planning. Consultation is a two-way communication process between the proponent and affected or interested stakeholders and landowners, review agencies, and municipalities other than the proponent, and Indigenous communities that provide opportunities for information exchange and for those consulted to influence decision-making. Consultation with Indigenous communities is a very important part of the EA process. Proponents must assess the potential impacts of their project on Indigenous interests, including reserve lands and/or Indigenous traditional land use areas, which are lands legally or traditionally used by Indigenous peoples. Aboriginal or treaty rights and claims, existing or asserted rights under Section 35 of the Canadian Constitution. Use of land and resources for traditional purposes, which includes hunting, fishing, gathering, or spiritual practices. Aboriginal people's industry and economic opportunities. What are the potential effects on Indigenous-led businesses or economic development? Archaeological sites, especially those of cultural or spiritual significance to Indigenous communities. Why does this matter? Failure to adequately consult and assess potential impacts on Indigenous rights can violate legal obligations under Canadian law, for example, the duty to consult, lead to delays, legal challenges, or even cancellation of projects. The timing of consultation for a Schedule B project is 1. Notice of project commencement. 2. Notice issued inviting comment and input following the Public Information Center. And 3. Notice of completion. The next steps in this Municipal Class EA process will be receive comments by the deadline of June 26, 2025. Review the comments received and incorporate feedback from the Public Information Center. Select the preferred alternative based on the feedback and comments received. Complete any required site investigations and finalize the project report file. A notice of study completion will be issued and the project file report will be provided for the 30-day public review and comment period. After the 30-day review period, we will address and incorporate comments received. If no notice of proposed order is received from the MECP, then we will proceed to design. Public input is encouraged throughout the process and will be given consideration during planning and design of this project. Please use the Public Information Center comment form posted to the town's website when providing your comments to be added to this project's contact list. Comments may be sent to the study team by email or regular mail. The deadline for submitting comments is Thursday, June 26, 2025.